Hello and welcome to a sound advice video overview of the ProJect Debut Evo 2 turntable. My name is Ed Selly, I'm a contributor to Sound Advice and one of the independent reviewers. I've been spending some time with the Evo 2 and I thought I'd give you some condensed thoughts on it. What is the Evo 2? It is, and you'll be staggered to learn this, the replacement for the Debut Evo, which was an attempt by ProJect to move the basic platform of what we take a debut turntable to be, an unsuspended belt drive turntable designed to be affordable, straightforward, easy to use and set up, and just move it ever so slightly up market. It was very successful and very logically the company has returned to the idea. Since the Evo came out, there's been a level above that, which is the Pro, which has also been refreshed at about the time that this Evo 2 model has come out. What the Evo 2 does is take some of the things that were developed for the Pro and cross-rip them with Evo components. So, to begin with, the tone arm, actually, do you know what? I'm going to take this off, simpler. Tone arm is taken fairly heavily from the original Pro. The bearing housing has been substantially changed over the original Evo. The carbon fibre arm tube, which has a one-piece head shell and is extremely stiff and light, has been retained, but this is a much more confidence-inspiring piece of hardware. It improves the feel of the arm and its ability to track. What you don't get that the Pro retains is the ability to adjust the height of this arm via a setting on the side. If you wish to adjust the height of this arm, you'll need to physically take it off the deck and put a series of shims underneath to raise the height it sits above the platter. The platter itself has also been updated with Pro technology. Now, there's a word I'm going to try and say at this point: thermoplastic elastomer. TPE, there's a ring of it around the inside lower edge of this platter. It increases the weight of the platter, it's now 1.7 kilos, and it makes it much more inert. Normally, an aluminium structure, this would ring when you tap your finger to it, but it's pretty dead. This is all in the pursuit of keeping the playing surface as quiet as possible and improving performance. Underneath this, you'll find a sub-platter where the belt acts. This can be upgraded at a later date. There's a host of upgrades for the Evo 2, which we'll cover in a little bit. But it does make fitting the belt a great deal easier. Underneath, you'll also find that whilst there are still 3 feet as before, these feet are really rather good for what is still a relatively affordable turntable. ProJect places great stock in the ability to keep things isolated from the world around them. This is in contrast to key rivals such as Riga, who would rather you pop the turntable on a wall shelf. If you don't have access to that, the ProJect is likely to do better for you. These feet do really do a fine job of keeping noise that you would otherwise be experiencing away from that playing surface, and for the first time on the Evo 2 they can be levelled. So even if the surface you place the turntable on is not in itself flat, you can use a spirit level and determine that the actual playing surface is as flat as it could be. At the end of the arm is another new arrival. Historically, the Evo and a lot of other ProJect turntables have used Autofon cartridges. Now, so we're clear, this is still a cartridge built by Autofon, but it has branding for ProJect. It's called the Picket MM Evo, and it essentially has been voiced and designed with a view to working on ProJect turntables. It also means that, generally speaking, the turntable comes out the box in pretty much a set-up condition. There's very little that you have to do to get it up and running. Around the back is something which probably doesn't count as a performance improvement, but it does make your life an awful lot easier. Allow me to explain. Historically, ProJect turntables put their connections in a sort of sub-chassis underneath the plinth. It was convenient in terms of how you built it and what you fitted and so on and so forth, but it just made fitting and wiring up the connections that little bit harder than it needed to be. The Evo 2, for the first time, actually has these connections built into the back of the plinth. Does it make a night and day difference sonically? Almost certainly not, but it's a damn sight easier to get this thing wired up and running than its predecessor was. It's a little bit of attention to detail that I think reflects well on the player as a whole. In fact, the only thing that really hasn't changed that I'm not wildly keen on is that the power switch lurks underneath the platter, and you push it one way for 45 RPM and the other way for 33 RPM. Compared to almost everything else on the Evo 2, it feels ever so slightly crude. But if that's the worst of my criticisms about how the turntable is built and how it operates, you can probably guess that there's not a lot else wrong with it. Also, it's worth pointing out that this particular example is blue. I hope it shows up as blue on the camera. But if blue is not the finish that you're looking for, there are 9 others. That's right, 9 other finishes to choose from. There's gloss white and black, there's a wood finish, and then a variety of these sheen finish colours. In a perfect world, I'd like to be able to either pay a small amount extra or similar and have these as a gloss. I mean, the gloss blue, I think that would look pretty good, but some of the other brighter colours, the gloss yellow and the gloss red, I think that would look splendid, and I'm a little bit disappointed that you can't do it, but you can't have everything. In light of everything else, this is extremely easy to set up and use. It's also a great deal easier to get out of the box than some ProJect designs of old, where the packaging was robust and it would protect the turntable, but woe betide if you tried to put the turntable back in without thoroughly documenting how you got it out, because it wasn't an easy thing. Ask me how I know. Moving on to performance, which is pretty important, this is a superb piece of kit. There wasn't a huge amount wrong with the old Evo, but this genuinely moves the game on. Biggest difference for me is that cartridge. The original Evo came with an Autofon 2M Red, not historically my favourite cartridge. If you upgraded the stylus to a 2M Blue, which was very easy to do, you got performance that was significantly better, you know, closer to what this turntable can do, but that difference alone pretty much made up the cost difference between the original Evo and the new Evo. So all of the other things that ProJect have done has to be seen as pretty good value in that situation. But this is an excellent cartridge and I wouldn't be rushing to change it. Performance-wise, that isolation of the playing surface is extremely effective. Noise floor is extremely low on this turntable. I've been using it with a very, very quiet phono stage and I don't feel that I'm hearing anything unwanted from the turntable itself, which is very impressive at £600. Pitch stability is generally pretty good. I haven't had any significant unhappiness with it. And the general performance is like a debut, but better. What do I mean by that? ProJects are not a seat of your pants, bang, bang, bang sort of sound. It's a flow. It's a means of sounding cohesive and just as happy playing something which is high tempo as it is playing something which is, you know, more relaxed. It never sounds out of place in what it's doing. This is a very, very fine iteration of it. In fact, it's so fine, it probably asks some questions of its equally new big brother, the Pro B. The B in Pro B is balanced. It's a big part of what ProJect has been trying to do these last few years, so it has a balanced output connection. If you don't have balanced inputs on your system, I can't help but think that the Evo 2 is going to run its big brother extremely close. I would venture so far as to say that it's probably the best pound for pound turntable I've tested under £1,000 as it stands, which has to be taken as something of an endorsement. And what's more, I touched on this earlier, its performance doesn't end here. ProJect has done an enormously impressive job building and fitting upgrade parts for their turntables. So, as well as that metal platter that I spoke about earlier, you can change the platter to an acrylic one, although this platter is sufficiently good I wouldn't be rushing for that. If you've got static issues, there's a cork mat which will improve things. There's a clamp which you 100% should buy if you own a ProJect turntable. They all sound better with a clamp in place. There are power supply changes, one which is designed to improve the performance, and awkwardly, yes, changing the power supply on a turntable can make a big difference, but there's also ones that allow you to run a phono stage off the same plug and other sort of convenience items. This is an exactingly well thought out piece of equipment. I really have enjoyed testing it, and it very, very much hasn't done anything wrong whilst it's been here. In the accompanying written review, I categorically state I think it's the best turntable you can currently buy for under £1,000, and I stick by that. There are of course some other things in the review that I will have forgotten to talk about whilst prattling on in front of the camera, so I do urge you to read that. But if you have enjoyed this review, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and stick around for future content. Thank you.